It is certainly no secret that I absolutely love glass jars. And while I'm sorting through some of these jars that I've just had kind of piled around the house in different spots and going through my spices for a special project, I thought I would tell you guys some of my favorite jars and why they're my favorites and ones that I would probably not keep. My glass jars, just like most things in my home, need to serve multiple purposes. That means the lids need to fit multiple different jars, as well as the jar is supposed to be big enough or small enough to fit the perfect thing. I'm also someone who loves things that match, so I don't really like jars that all look mismatched. I'm sure that suits some people, but for me personally, I like them to all look quite uniform, whether it's the same shape or whether it's the same size for one certain thing. That makes me feel really happy. My favorite types of jars are these Moccona ones because they come in lots of different sizes. I had my family collect these for me for years and now I finally have a great collection. You can see Moccona also has these size jars which are perfect for our bulk spices which we use a lot of, like cumin, coriander, peppercorns, oregano and chili, as well as our seed mix which we sprinkle on almost everything. They also have these little ones which are perfect for spices that you still use a lot but not as much. And so they're perfect. There's one more really cool thing that a Moccona jar can do that these other jars can't do. Moccona jars are really special because they come with a lid like this, and the lid actually has a suction cup. What a lot of people don't know is you can actually remove the suction cup, and you should, to give it a really good clean. But then you can use this as a lid and this jar lid as another little container because it's completely hollow inside and is actually a really great handy size. So these Moccona jars can work as like a little snack container, or they can work together as a much larger container. So I think that's really nifty and goes back to what I was saying with jars needing to have more than just one purpose. Alternatively though, at Big W they sell these types of jars which are also really good if you don't have Moccona jars or you would rather something that seals a lot better. The benefit of these ones from Big W, or you could get a similar type of brand from Kmart, the Reject Shop, all kinds of places. These are preserving jars, which means not only can you use them for spices, but if you ever changed your mind about the jars that you're using and you want to mix things up, you can still reuse these for your preserving needs. So what I love about these jars in particular is that the lid is probably the most versatile lid that I've ever seen, and this jar mouth is also the most versatile because these ones that you can buy really cheap from Big W, the lid is actually the same one that fits on a few different things that we use in our home, including salsa jars and goat's cheese. If you eat the goat's cheese that comes in this kind of container, you know how delicious it is. The lid fits perfectly on these types of jars. So if you ever lose them, if they ever get little holes in them and you are worried that, you can't seal that clearly if it's got holes in it. Same with the Mayor's peanut butter jars. So if you buy peanut butter or tahini from this brand and you buy this like bulk size, the lids fit all the same. So this lid fits on the salsa or the goat's cheese jar. Same lid fits on the peanut butter. And it fits on that, which means you only need to have so many lids without having to worry about them getting lost. Because if you're someone that has a lot of Tupperware or glass jars, the last thing you want to do is have a drawer full of lids or be searching for them when you really need them. Who knew that I would have so much to say about jars? I want to talk about some jars that I don't like. And Sam keeps leaving these curry-based jars or like really oddly shaped jars. As I mentioned before, I really don't like unsightly or mismatched jars. These would be perfectly fine, except that they're really hard to clean because the mouth isn't big enough for you to stick your hand into. And you can get a scourer that kind of gets to all the edges, and with the shorter jars that can be easier. But I would rather make it nice and easy, nice and uniform, and not have to worry about these types of jars. I do also absolutely love these olive jars. This is the brand Always Fresh, and they have fantastic green olives. But what I love about these jars is they're big enough for your hand to go into. They're tall enough for you to fit bigger amounts of things, whether you're storing food, whether you're storing dried goods or spices, or even if you have a sourdough starter going. I find that this is a great size to have a nice big amount of sourdough starter and not have it explode over the top of the jar. We have saved a lot of these jars, which are from like little cocktail pickles, and again, they're pretty tricky to clean properly, and I think just as time goes, I'm tending to want to get rid of these more and more. There is one more type of jar that I do use in my home, but this is probably one of the most difficult to clean and to use, but it can be really useful for things like sauces and preserving liquids. And that's these types of jars from old barbecue sauces that I reuse for my own barbecue sauces, my own homemade ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, and even some like from passata bottles. My mom collected these passata bottles for me, and I've used them for things like pickles. Now, these are all really easy things to get out and then clean afterwards because they're not too sticky. It's really easy to fill this with soapy water and shake it to clean it off. But as far as trying to scrub these, it can be quite tricky unless you have a bottle cleaner. So I wouldn't recommend putting anything too sticky or difficult to get out. I hope you're enjoying all of the extra DIY tips and tricks that I'm releasing this month and next month in honor of Plastic Free July. It's been so much fun to put them together, whether they're long or short, and just sharing the things that I've learned that I know can sometimes sound really basic, but for someone just starting out can be really powerful. The last value pack thing that I'm going to share with you guys is how to actually get these jars really easily cleaned up, because you don't really want these sticky spots or labels left over when you want to display them in a nice way. I start off by scratching off any stickers that I can, and then I soak them in some boiling hot soapy water. And once they've soaked for a while, I use my coconut core scrubber to give them a really good scrub to get all of the residue off. Sometimes this takes a few tries before it truly comes off, but hot water seems to do the trick. The jars that are a bit harder to clean, I'm going to make a paste with olive oil and baking soda and rub them with that. And that's it. A nice, clean, labelless jar. And this one wasn't too bad, but it kind of looked like that. Had this sticky glue on it, and now it's clean. Now I'm gonna get back to sorting all of these, throwing away into the recycling bin anything that I don't need. Glass and metal are really easy to recycle as long as you take them apart, so you don't have to feel guilty about throwing away old jars if you don't want them anymore. They're also a really great thing to donate to an op shop because lots of people look for jars that are similar in op shops, like me.